LarpCraft does a really good job of balancing role play and combat. So whenever I first came to LarpCraft, my husband had been a player in Dagger Here for years. Well, that's a combat game. It's not even really a LARP. Like they don't, or at least not down here. They don't do role play very much at all. They just line up, they fight, they line up, they fight, they line up, they fight. I had no interest in that. And in fact, in that game, if you have no interest in combat, you're basically second-class citizen as far as they're concerned. So what I wanted was something that was more role-play based, where I didn't have to fight, but I could still be on equal footing. And that was what was really important for me. We could have a game that we played as a family, and that was really important for me.
I'd like to add to that, if you emphasize safe combat, a lot of like families and stuff would be more interested, because seeing people with steel combat hitting each other looks dangerous. But if you emphasize safe combat, yeah. Or,
I'm in the same boat as Brooke. It's, for me, originally I wasn't interested because I'm not a combatter. I'm not a fighter. I don't do that. I wasn't interested when we were doing the reenactment. I was a crafter. So when I found out there was non-combat options, that changed my mind about things. Then I could look into things and create a character that still fit into the world, but didn't necessarily have to be a fighter. Didn't have to go out
class.
So there's options for more than just being out there and fighting.
Raylick, did you have something?
Yeah, Murdoch made me.
Actually, he's right, too. I know with me, what brought me in was Rollick made the comment. It's Dungeons and Dragons playing it actual.
The classes were more of, what do you want to call yourself? Because there's more classes than what are usually defined. So instead of trying to come up with 6,000 different classes, the specializations, if you do your homework on, you can either go broad across multiple professions, but then you run out of room later on. You can't go deep into any specialization or skill. And that's designed that way on purpose. So either you can be a jack of all trades and a master of none, or you can actually specialize and run a whole gamut all the way through.
I think that's one of the main things that's recently been discussed about this total destruction spell, because you have to really dedicate yourself into all the elements. Get like 3 of this element, 3 of this element, 3 of this element, even though that one has 4 anyway. But yeah, you have to dedicate yourself to get this spell. That's what it should be. I mean, if I want to go all the way through combat line, get myself to the heavy armor and the tower shield and everything, I should have to dedicate myself to that.
So go ahead.
The class versus non-class is one of those things that, again, drives back to aesthetic. Having classes and having like skill tree based systems appeal to different aesthetics. A class system appeals more to the fantasy aspect, where you're taking on another person's role, whereas a skill tree type aesthetic more appeals to a personal exploration and explorative gameplay. And they're both valid. They're both valid ways to play a game. So it's just more of a, where do we want to put our focus?
Peter?
Well, and the other thing I see is I like Vikings a lot. Go figure. Most Vikings, you were always trained to fight. Even if you were considered a healer, you still knew how to kill someone with an axe in some shape, form, or way. No matter what you were always kind of, you always had some type of fighting in your background. I like this new way, I really do. But it with your whole class thing, it's like, it opens it to the whole concept of, well, what are you saying your class is? Like, for instance, with my cleric guy, I'm kind of running him more as a war priest, not your typical run-of-the-mill cleric.
And again, people are very creative. And to not allow the war priest as a thing was detrimental. You know, you got your battle mages. I know. But you got to let the freedom of the player run with that part, because it is really lore based. I mean, you could have a whole guild full of specialized, come up with some weird class, and that would be their thing. I mean, because that's running as what they came up with. And we kind of have a class system, but it's in disguise, because it looks like there's a lot of freedom of choice until you try to really build a character past level 30 or thereabouts. It starts
Your options start to get...
Yeah. So it looks real free and like, oh, but then if you do the math on what you really want to do, you have some tough choices.
I think it's perfect for beginners, though. If you think about it, they're level 0. You don't go out naked. That's one of the big things, and I know I got a couple people asking about our system, and I looked them towards the page, and it's like, this is probably the most beginner-friendly. We're the most beginner-friendly that we've ever been.
That is a big criticism of many LARP systems that are story-based is, oh yeah, you're starting out. You can wear a gambeson and you can use a dagger, and that's it. But I've LARPed for 10 years in another game. Like, I've gotten really good at using polearms. I suck with daggers. I want to walk on the field and be just a pikeman. That's my entire reason for being here, is being a pikeman or being a trades person. But I can't take trades until like level 15, 30. Then I have no interest in the game. And that's a bit of a hyperbole, but that is a lot of the complaints that are lodged against many different LARP groups.
Can't remember the name of it, but I had a chance with one other LARP that was a combat-based system, and they had a class set up, but it was so restricted that if you went the warrior path, you couldn't use a bow, because you had to be either a thief or a ranger to use a bow. And there's no freedom in that, and that's one of the things that's great about this is I can be a druid and still have a metal sword just because it's better than a bow.
Yep. But again, we didn't start that way. We started with a class-based system, and we were pounding ourselves into the dirt trying to figure out how can we offer the most flexibility but yet have all these classes. And it just wasn't happening. But at the same token, now that classes are open, we have no definition. We have no... So I guess from a standpoint of how can we improve to show we do have classes, we need to build better lore on those classes. Well, just post something. I'm a paladin. Is there any paladin lore? Not really. No.
I mean, I classify myself as sort of a barbarian with a bit of roguish abilities. So I raid tombs, I kill people, I have fun.
I'm slowly developing this.
I recently reclassed myself as an aristocrat. So I really just stand around and look pretty, I guess, at this point.
I could tell you what Book's class is, but then I'd have to kill you.
She's a witch.
I am not a witch.
Burn her! Burn her!
Okay, was that witch or winch?
Hey. I do not weigh the same as a duck. I am not a witch.
So she's a winch.
Well, I do run a tavern. Well, I did, until they burnt it down.
We used to have that problem.
Once a winch, always a winch.